All right, so in this lesson, I'm going to replace the weapon type variable. So if we go to the weapon base, remember we made this weapon type and we're using it here to check if the player has the weapon in the inventory already. So this weapon type, we already made this inside of the structure. So if you go to the structure, remember we made this type. So now we don't need these extra variables to be laying around. We can actually just use our structure. So to replace this, what we can do now, instead of all of this, instead of taking the weapon type like this, we can now say get weapon info. We can take this here. We can plug in the name like that. Remember, we are inside of the weapon base, so we already have the name already here. And now to get the weapon type, we have to drag and say break, and we can break this. What you can do, you can also right click here and say split struct pin, and you can get those like this. However, I like to just write break and having them out here instead. Now that is just the preference. Okay, so I can now take this type, this is the weapon type, and I can plug it into here now. So you can see this is the same thing. And now I can actually delete this weapon type variable. And to hide those pins that you're not using to make it look better, you can click on it and press hide unconnected pins. So now it looks like this. Okay, I have to organize this a bit later, but let's just let it be here. So for this weapon type here, I'm dragging from this and saying name again, get the weapon name, get weapon info, and then you can break this and then you can plug in the type over here instead. So you can delete this as well. And now you can see we're not using this variable anymore. So we have all of the information for the weapon inside of this one. Okay, so I'm going to organize this a bit. All right, so now it is a bit more organized. Now to take a look at if you have other references of this weapon type, instead of looking for it, I know for a fact that we also used it in the player base. But if you don't remember, let's say you come in here 1 month later and you don't remember where you used it elsewhere, you can see if you try to delete it now, it says the variable weapon type is already in use. Do you want to delete it? I am pressing no because we're still using it. So right click here and say find references. Now this down here is only finding the references within this blueprint. But if you click on this small icon, it's going to find it in all blueprints. It's going to search in all of the blueprints and you can see it's used in the BP player base. And if you double click on the variable here, it takes us to this place. And we used it here in the loot weapon where we set the equipped weapon type. So let us, instead of doing this again, let's take this looted weapon. Let's say get weapon info. Actually, not get weapon info, get name, get weapon name. And instead of doing all of this again and again, I'm actually just going to go over to the weapon base and I'm going to copy this and this here. So the get weapon info and the break structure. So I can just paste it in here and I can plug this into here. It's a bit faster. And you can now plug the type in here and you can delete this. And again, just try to make it as organized as possible. But you can see it is very long now compared to before. However, again, you have all the information contained within this structure. So it's going to be a lot more cleaner for you. All right, so now we have that. And let us open up my references again. I'm going to double click on this one now. And I'm using it here when I want to switch or attach the actor to my mesh component. So again, just like before, let's just copy all of this because we're actually just using this looted weapon again. And I'm going to go back here on rep looted. And I'm going to delete this and make space, paste this, and then connect it here. And then just push them back. And the same thing down here, delete them and connect it and just like that. Okay, now you have it. Compile, save everything, and that should be all. You can see you don't have more references. This was all of them. So if you go back now to the weapon base and press delete, it's going to automatically delete it because you are not using it anymore. So now you can see we replaced all of them. The blueprints are getting cleaner. In the future, we don't have like 10 variables for the weapon. We have them all inside of our function, not function, our structure. And from that structure, it's taking this information from the data table. And we can always make it longer later on. But for now, this is all the information we need. And let us now save everything and let us move on.